Who knew the death of a pig could cause so much trouble? Tucked away in between the Haro Strait and the Rosario Strait, next door to Vancouver Island, are the San Juan Islands. 172 named islands make up the San Juans. 3 islands are served by ferries: San Juan Island, Orcas Island, and Lopez Island. You can make it a quick day trip there out of Seattle, or you can stay overnight or for a few days. There are a lot of activities, everything from kayaking to hiking to whale watching to sampling the foods grown on the islands or caught on the waters surrounding the islands. There are nearly 18,000 residents in all of the islands. April through September is the tourist season. It's a fantastic place to escape to, away from the noise and bustle of city life. Not only are the islands remarkably beautiful, but they are in an extremely important part of the Northwest, situated in between 2 channels, the Haro and Rosario Straits. In June 1846, the Treaty of Oregon was signed in Washington, D.C., setting the boundary on the 49th parallel from the Rocky Mountains to the middle of the channel which separates the continent from Vancouver's island, then south through the channel to the Strait of San Juan Fuca and west to the Pacific Ocean. The channel described in the treaty was actually 2 channels, the Haro Strait, named Vancouver Island, and the Rosario Strait, nearer the mainland. The San Juan Islands lay between, and both sides, American and British, claimed the entire island group. In 1845, the Hudson Bay Company claimed San Juan Island. A few years later, they established salmon curing stations along the island's western shoreline. By 1853, Washington Territory claimed the islands as U.S. possessions. In response, Hudson Bay Company set up the Bellevue Sheep Farm on San Juan Island's southern shore in 1853. The flock expanded quickly. The news of the good soil and bountiful resources spread quickly among American settlers on the mainland. By 1859, 18 Americans staked claims on Hudson Bay Company sheep grazing lands. They expected the U.S. government to support them, but the British considered the claims illegal and the claimants little more than trespassers. The turning point came on June 15, 1859, when Lyman Cutler, an American, shot and killed a Hudson Bay Company pig rooting in his garden. When British authorities threatened to arrest Cutler and evict all Americans from the island as trespassers, a delegation sought military protection from Brigadier General William S. Harney, the anti-British commander in the Department of Oregon. Harney responded by ordering Company D, 9th U.S. Infantry under Captain George E. Pickett, of later Civil War fame, to San Juan. Pickett's 64-man unit landed on July 27th and encamped just north of Bellevue Sheep Farm. Vancouver Island Governor James Douglas was angered by Pickett's landing. He ordered Captain Jeffrey Phipps Hornby, RN, commanding the 31-gun steam frigate HMS Tribune, to dislodge Pickett, but to avoid an armed clash if possible. Hornby was soon joined by 2 more warships, HMS Satellite and HMS Plummer. Pickett refused to withdraw and wrote Harney for help. Throughout July and August, Hornby accumulated more Marines. However, Hornby wisely refused to take any action against the Americans until the arrival of Rear Admiral Lambert Baines, commander of British naval forces in the Pacific. Baines, appalled at the situation, advised Douglas that he would not involve 2 great nations in a war over the squabble of a pig. Meanwhile, Pickett was reinforced on August 10 by 171 men under Lieutenant Colonel Silas Casey, who assumed command and, with Pickett in tow, went to Victoria to parley with Baines. The old admiral, a veteran of the Battle of New Orleans in 1815, refused to leave his 84-gun ship of the line, HMS Ganges, to call upon Casey aboard a lighthouse tender. A disappointed Casey took note of the Ganges' size and on his return to San Juan pleaded for more men. By August 31st, 461 Americans were encamped in the woods just north of the sheep farm, protected by 14 field cannons. 8 more 32-pounder naval guns were removed from the USS Massachusetts to be emplaced under the direction of Lieutenant Henry M. Robert. When word of the crisis reached Washington, officials from both nations were shocked that Cutler's pig murder had grown into a potentially explosive international incident. Alarmed by the prospect, President James Buchanan sent General Winfield Scott, U.S. Army commander and also a War of 1812 veteran, to investigate and try to contain the affair. Scott had calmed 2 other border crises between the 2 nations in the late 1830s. Following a 6-week passage from New York via the Isthmus of Panama, Scott arrived in the San Juans in October. Communicating with Douglas via messenger, the 2 leaders arranged for each nation to withdraw reinforcements, leaving the island with a single company of U.S. soldiers and a British warship anchored in Griffin Bay. Scott proposed a joint military occupation until a final settlement could be reached, which both nations approved in November. Harney was officially rebuked and eventually reassigned for allowing the situation to needlessly escalate. Casey's soldiers were withdrawn, save for 1 company under the command of Captain Lewis Cass Hunt. Pickett returned to replace Hunt the following April. Meanwhile, on March 21, 1860, British Royal Marines landed on the island's northwest coast and established on Garrison Bay what is now known as English Camp. San Juan Island remained under joint military occupation for the next 12 years. In 1871, when Great Britain and the U.S. signed the Treaty of Washington, the San Juan question was referred to Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany for settlement. The Kaiser referred the issue to a 3-man arbitration commission who met for nearly a year in Geneva. On October 21, 1872, the commission, through the Kaiser, ruled in favor of the U.S. and established the boundary line through Haro Strait. Thus, the San Juan Islands became American possessions, and the final boundary between Canada and the U.S. was set. On November 25, 1872, the Royal Marines withdrew from English Camp. By 1874, the last of the U.S. troops had left American camp. Peace had finally come to the 49th parallel, and the San Juan Island would be long remembered for the war in which the only casualty was a pig. If you would like to hear more stories about people and places in the American West, please like and subscribe.